What's going on, everyone? Welcome to the Taco Garage and welcome to today's video. We have a very special something coming up today. A little bit of suspension work on this truck today. You've seen it before. We've done a couple things, including our strut reinforcement for the suspension on this one. So it's already lifted 1 inch, but now we're gonna just take it a little further. We got some TRD upper control arms. These are so nice, billet machined. You can see the machining lines here, which are super cool to see. In this little box, we have some tiny King stuff, soy bar links. But this right here, the King 2.5s for all four corners, adjustables, these are the star of the show. So we're gonna just get familiar with the parts, make sure everything's in there. I don't see why it wouldn't. It's always good practice just to make sure that we have everything, that we have the right parts, no wrong brackets. We got the wrong top hat on the shock. It's happened before. So let's go ahead and unbox this. You'll notice too, the springs are a lot wider than the springs they used to use on the 2.5s for an old generation Tacoma. For the different diameter spring, this is a 375 diameter, which is just interesting, but it's still a 2.5 shock body. So I don't know what the logic is. It looks fatter, it looks just cooler overall. So I agree with the decision, whatever the motivation was. First things first, we're gonna do the upper control arms, and then we're gonna do the front shocks, and then we're gonna do the rear shocks at the end. So for the upper control arms, if we take a look over here, as opposed to previous years, it doesn't seem like the bolt for the upper control arms is obstructed by anything. I see this this fat harness here. Maybe that gets a little bit in the way, but it doesn't seem like it's gonna be too big of a deal. Especially on the other side, we come over here, and we pretty much have a straight shot. So that should come out pretty easily. The other one might be a little bit obstructed, but it doesn't seem anywhere as bad as third generation or the 4Runners or anything. So we'll just undo this one, take that nut out, and it should slide right through. Obviously, we're gonna undo the ABS line, loosen it from the spindle. Up here, well, that's for the shock, but we'll get to that. We'll get to that. But the pin, there we go. Take the pin out and then drop it. Make sure you drop it through here. It's very important that you drop the pin. If you take a look at the ground and it's just no longer there and it's gone forever, then that's exactly what you want. It means you're doing it right. So now you're gonna undo this. Okay, this should be a 19 mil or a 3/4. So, and it is tight, and I'm also tightening it because I don't know left from right. There we go. Before we take the nut out, we have to smack it with a hammer here for this to let go, and then we have our control arms loose. It's the moment of truth. We're gonna figure out if the control arm bolt actually comes out clean or if there's anything else I need to do. So there we go. I want to be careful with this one for it not to pull too much, because it could pull other things, a brake line or just anything else. But it isn't really pulling too much, so we're good there. Let's figure this out. Okay, I think it actually got stuck with something, so. There it is. So it gets a little bit caught on this on the other side of this bracket right here. So I think we're just gonna have to push it out of the way. It's not very stuck, but just a little bit. All right. So I finally managed to remove the bolt for the upper control arm. Turns out it's not completely unobstructed. This hose gets in the way, so I had to remove it. You just pull the tabs apart. That releases a hose, and then pull it back. That's it. I did, since I'm messing with a little more than I expected to, I just disconnected the battery just in case. There's a sensor here, and I didn't want to throw anything off. It's probably okay anyway, but I just disconnected the battery to be safe. Now, the bolt comes all the way to here, but then you just pull it a little bit harder, and it just slides through. You don't have to remove anything else. This is actually fixed in place, so you can't remove it or move it to the side or do anything about it. You just pull the bolt, and it slides right through. You're not damaging anything. It's just, well, that's how you do it. Otherwise, it is pretty unobstructed, and this is pretty easy to do. It just took a little bit of thinking to make sure that that's the right move. But aside from that, we're pretty clear on this end. So that's one side. Let's look at the other one. Okay, so I'm looking at this side, and it looks like the bolt comes in the exact same direction, and it looks like it's gonna hit the exact same hose on this side. So chances are we're gonna have to do the same thing, but let's figure that out. So turns out this side is actually completely unobstructed. The hose did not get in the way, so we're good to go. The bolt slides right out of there. Nice. The shock has been removed, so with the control arm gone and the sway bar disconnected, the whole lower portion drops down enough for you to pull the shock towards you. The stud's clear on the top, and then the eyelet, as long as you have the bolt removed, obviously it'll pop right out. So no other obstructions here. So yeah, it's pretty easy to get it done once you have the sway bar disconnected, the control arm gone. So now what we're gonna do is throw one of the King shocks in here, and then the control arm, and then tighten everything up. According to King, the shocks come ready to level out the truck, which is not what we're trying to do, because we're going to end up lifting the rear as well. So we want them a little bit higher. What we're going to do is put them up on the compressor, give them a little more preload, and then bring them back to the truck. Hopefully we get exactly the height we want out of the truck, but we'll go based off of the information we have. We'll see the end result, and if need be, we'll put them back on the compressor, readjust. But hopefully we'll get exactly what we need. Okay, so the control arm and the bolt just went back in. It's a little more difficult to put it back in than it is to pull it out, but once you have that hose disconnected, it takes just a little bit of force and wiggling it around. It's not that big a deal. You don't have to hammer it, you don't have to do anything else. I just thought it was a little harder to push back in than it was to pull it out, but not terribly difficult. And like I said, on the other side, it's completely clear. There's no obstruction, so you just go straight out, straight in. But take a look at this. Whew. Nice. Okay, so I found a little bit of an issue here. So if I try to push the shock back in, it's already lined up at the bottom, but I try to push it in here, those are not lining up. The distance between the bolts is narrower than the distance between the holes. So it's definitely not the right configuration there. I think it's gonna be flipped. That's the only thing I can think of, so we'll figure that out. So this top hat does not seem to be the right one for the 24 Taco. I don't know if it's from a different model or if I am just crazy. I'm not sure, but it's definitely not going in. So I'm trying to figure that out. I'm gonna take it completely off and just try the whole. I took some measurements too. I compared it to the stock one. I compared it to our spacer here, and I really don't think it's the right one, which is a very weird problem to have with a brand new set of King shocks. But I guess it's a new model. Maybe that's why. I'm not sure. But let's figure that out before we jump to conclusions. Okay. That seems to be kind of right. So these two go in, but definitely not going in that direction. Okay, well, we got the wrong top hat. So the conclusion is we got the wrong top hat on the shock. We're gonna have to talk to King, figure that out. Probably just get a replacement one of these. It's a sad day. Very excited to see everything completed. It's not going to happen today, unfortunately. We'll keep you posted. We'll give you an update on what King says and what the solution is going to be. I'm guessing we're just going to get a new top hat to put on it. Okay, so we'll continue with the rears and we'll do everything else that we can do for now. Hopefully we can get that sorted. Given the circumstances, stock shocks are back on, but the upper control arms look really nice. The paint on them, the camera doesn't make it justice. It's really, really cool. And you see the machine, the lines, and you see the patterns and everything. It's just really nice. Moving on to the back, this should be a lot easier. It's just this top bolt, bottom bolt, nothing in between. So it should be pretty easy to remove and install the King shock. It's just a reservoir that we're gonna find a spot for. I think it goes in here, if I remember correctly. We'll see in a second. And the sway bar links. So we're also replacing these for the King sway bar links. I already broke it loose with the 8mm on top. Oh, and I do have a tower supporting the axle here because we don't want it to drop as soon as this thing comes off. Sway bar link nuts are both 17, so we are ready to throw the first shock in. This is the right one, so not the one we're looking for. Okay, this is the one. This is what your stock sway bar link looks like, and then you're going to replace it with a new one. Comes with provided hardware to push through and into the car. This is what it looks like. According to the instructions, that's the direction in which the bolts need to go through. And as far as the shock, nothing special about it. You just line this up, put a bolt through, line the top up. The fatter bushing goes underneath, the slimmer one goes on top, and then you tighten it up. The reservoir, we'll get to that in a second. I'm thinking it goes either here or here. It's basically going to sit somewhere around there. But we'll get to that in a second. And the only other different sort of special, unusual type thing, and it's not that unusual, a lot of kids have it, but this little bracket here, this is going to go on your brake line bracket. So you're going to undo that bolt, put this in its place, and then this bolt is going to move down into this bottom hole of the bracket. So pretty simple, nothing too special, but just make sure you do that. Oh no. Yeah, this is your reservoir mount. This you have to put together. The brackets come all separately, but you just put it together like this. You're gonna have two bolts in this little bracket. So you come to the frame, this goes inserted into the frame. There's a piece of plastic here, but you just pry it out, and then you're gonna hold it like this by the squared end. Not the D looking end, not the rounded one, but the squared one. You hold it from that little thing, put it in the frame, twist it, and then push the back part against the frame. The D side's gonna come out, and then you just slide it forward. That pretty much leaves it ready to accept the bolts that are gonna hold our reservoir mount. So we're gonna take our reservoir mount, slide it through. Oh shoot, okay, all the way down. And then we're gonna make it line up. Oh, actually, the reservoir is supposed to come out through the back and then over the shock, and I have it facing forward right now. So we're gonna have to do that. That's why this is not lining up. So now we can actually make some progress, I think. Let's put this through. It's gonna go all the way back, and then there you have it. Lines up pretty much perfectly with the insert. Get our bolts. Oh no, just make sure that it's not sliding out. Okay, there it is. It slid out. So if that happens, you can pull in this little corner here and try to make it come back. There we go. Okay. Also, be very careful not to drop it inside the frame. It's kind of difficult to get it out of there, but it's happened to me before. Usually a magnet is what's going to work the best to get it back, because there's no access to the frame. This is now a box frame, same with the Tundra, Sequoias. So yeah, just be careful with that, but you can always get it back with a magnet. It's not terribly difficult. It's just an annoying, bit of an annoying process nobody wants to go through. So now we just go ahead and tighten these bottom ones. This one to hold the reservoir in place. Everything else is all done. All right, so we are done for the day. The control arms look amazing, but unfortunately the King shocks were a no-go for today. Kings with adjusters, finned reservoirs, these look amazing. I can't wait to drive on them properly with the fronts as well. But we'll have to wait on that, but we'll definitely keep you posted. So we are done, at least for the moment. Unfortunately, we could not get those Kings in. One of the top hats was just wrong. It would not line up with the shock tower, so we could not get one of those in. And I did everything I could to just make sure that I'm not crazy, and it's not me that's just doing it wrong. It's the top hat itself, and I confirmed it in a bunch of different ways. The top hat is just wrong. We're gonna talk to King soon. Hopefully we get that sorted sooner than later. But we got the upper control arms on. We got the rear 2.5s with the finned reservoirs and the shock adjusters, and we got the sway bar and link installed as well. So it already looks amazing in the back. The front's gonna have to wait, but these control arms are really, really cool. We're gonna talk to King tomorrow, and we're gonna try to get that sorted ASAP. Maybe, just maybe, since they're not too far from us, we can go just pick one up and install it on our shocks. If that's not the case, we'll just wait for them to say something. And stay tuned. Whatever we do, we're gonna show you. We're gonna have a video on it, and once we have everything installed, we're gonna do some performance testing. We're gonna do some desert running. We're gonna do some, I don't know. For now, this is the end of the project, at least with what we have right now. All right, so that's been it. Thanks so much for watching, and I hope you enjoyed it, learned something. See you in the next one.